Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to Red Hot Talk. Yes, we're back after a week off because both Rod and I were extremely busy last week. but we're back.
Sorry.
We're back. No, I think we still have our 9 to 5 to pay our bills, so that's more important. But we're happy to be back and maybe have a nice conversation about photography and gear. And I think today it's more about gear, I would say. And hopefully some of you may chip in your experience and your feeling about the topics today, which is about switching gear. As you know, Black Friday is around the corner, so is Christmas. And you may also see that there are absolutely a ton of deals going at the moment. So it's very tempting, right, Rod? You see all this cashback coming now. You are saving 20%, 25% everywhere for lenses, for bodies, things that you probably were tempted, months ago. You think, oh, now, it's really getting to that point that I want to really push that purchase button now. Should I do it? Should I do it? But then it's a different system, right? And it's also possibly the system that you may be contemplating of trying. And Rod and I earlier just had a little conversation there. We both switch system many times before. We go around in circles, or sometimes we just go back to the system that we started with.
Yeah.
And we can share a thing or two about switching system. And I also want to talk about why you shouldn't switching system. And let's talk a little bit about that. Before we do that, we're going to probably say hi to a few people. I can see John's already here. And
Hi, John.
Hi, John. Is it Philip? I can't even read the word. my eyes are going so bad now. Philippe? Right. Okay. I don't know. My screen's text is so small. Yes. Just to say hi to a few. Let's wait a few minutes until people joining in today. So I think I've got a comment here. Maybe we can answer that before we continue our conversation. So, hi Jimmy, how are you? I have a question. My daughter is going to get married at the end of December. Oh, congratulations! It's only next month. I have a OM5 too, and wonder if the lens 12 to 40 enough, or should you recommend a lens around 50 or 60 millimeters? Right, okay. The 12 to 40, I presume that you talk about the 2.8. It's reasonably fast, but I think that depending on what you want to capture, if you are thinking that you're going to be constantly indoor, even with the 2.8 aperture, you probably have to crank up the ISO for quite a bit, depending on whether you want to freeze the moment or not. But I guess if you have some guests, have some young kids, you may want to keep the shutter speed run about 1/20th or even maybe 200th to make sure that the kids is reasonably close, not blur, because they're moving around or dancing around, things like that. So for that, with a 2.8 aperture indoor, you are still looking at ISO 1600, probably even more, maybe 2500, depending on the lighting conditions. As now in December, I'm not entirely sure where you are, and if you're in the UK, very likely we're going to get very dull and dark weather. So that
3
means
hours
that
of daylight.
yeah, so that means even you have big windows, you may not get a lot of light in. So for that, you may really want to consider getting a prime. And 50-60 is quite long, so I think that you probably would like to have maybe a 25, which is like still very decent enough angular view for a general group shots, not too wide, and also some portrait if you're into that kind of photography. Otherwise, get a 17, and both of these focal lengths are available with 1.8 aperture, which is quite a bit faster than 2.8. So you'll be able to use a much lower ISO, like ISO 800, for instance, to get the same shutter speed. So for that, I would recommend you get maybe those lenses, have a look at them. I think OM System now currently has some cash back as well, if you're in the UK.
Yeah, on a
so,
few things. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're in the US, I'm pretty sure they probably have some similar deals for Black Friday and also Christmas as well. But it's worth checking out at the moment because I think there are a lot of deals around at the moment. So have a look at the 17 or the 25 1.8 primes. They're quite small, so you can carry that and your 12 to 40. I think that would be quite a nice combo to have for a wedding. It's not too bulky. You can still put it in a really small bag.
Jimmy, do you also shoot with something a bit longer, like the equivalent of 70 to 200? Because I know they're very popular with wedding photographers for like candid shots in a crowd and individuals and couples from a little distance. I know a lot of wedding photographers use a lens like that, but that's going to be better out of doors or in good light, I would think. I
Yes.
mean, it depends on whether if you're talking about photographing kids at the reception or on a
Yeah,
dance
yeah,
floor with
yeah,
the
yeah.
disco lights going,
Yep.
you do need something faster. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
it's difficult. There are difficult conditions to shoot in.
it it is. I mean, that's why, like, when I was shooting weddings, I mean, apart from the trinity of 2.8 zoom lenses, I also have a few
Yeah,
primes with me, and I
yeah,
just have to keep swapping depending on the lighting conditions. It's not so much about shallow depth of field or anything. It's more about light, because when you go indoor,
yeah.
that's when things starting to fall out, and then you have to make sure that you got a fast enough lens to get enough light in, while not trying to destroy the ambience, because you can of course put a flash on top of it, and but then it's going to get a very different look altogether, and you may not like that.
Would you recommend something like the 40 to 150 2.8 for the ceremony, for example, where you
Yes.
don't want to be right on top of the couple? You're
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
off
yeah,
to
yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
side in the wings, and you
Yep.
just want to be a bit more discreet. That might be a good focal length there.
Oh yeah,
But it
yeah.
depends on the kind of shots you want to do.
Absolutely. I mean, the 40 to 150 2.8 is a brilliant, versatile lens that can do multiple things. And you already got the 12 to 40. If you add that on, you literally
Yeah,
covers everything you need
that's
for the day,
yeah,
just apart from the low light stuff. And
yeah.
once you get indoor, and that's when you really start to think about maybe getting a 1.8 or faster prime lenses. But then once you go into that category, you may want to consider buying 2 or 3 of those different focal lengths to swap around. So it is quite hard to answer. It's a one-off question, but I think that to start with, maybe a 17 1.8 or 25. These 2 focal lengths are, to me at least, it's the most used focal lengths in any indoor environment, because they're quite versatile. They're wide enough for group shot and fast enough to do some low light work as well.
And they're not bad wide open.
No,
The
no.
quality wide open is pretty decent. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't worry about using them with f1.8.
No, no, absolutely, absolutely. It's only reserved for the low light stuff. And so we got Angela play for one. Welcome back. And we're seeing some more familiar faces now.
Yep.
Chuck, and we got Thomas. That's good. Nice, nice. Okay, right. So we start today's conversation about switching. So before we start, I just want to hear from all of you. Have you ever used other system, and when did you switch to whatever you're using right now, and what system you're using now, and why did you switch? A lot of questions there, but I would like to, hear from your experience.
And did it work out as you hoped?
Yeah, yeah.
It
Okay,
doesn't. It doesn't always, because quite often you switch and you discover things about the new system or new irritations or problems you never had with the old one. So
yep,
you can get it's there isn't really a perfect system. At least I haven't found. When you may find one, but I haven't. There's always something that irritates you, or
yeah,
something missing, or
yeah,
some
yeah.
some irritation or limitation you hadn't expected.
We
So
we talked a lot about this, right? There is no perfect camera or perfect system. In general, there isn't. If you say that, okay, this camera is perfect for me, fine. This is probably perfect for what you use, but I think we've been long enough that we try different type of photography, and even I'm specialized in portrait photography. I still find that there are 2 or 3 systems that is good, and then the other 2 is not so good. So you really have to find the right tool for the right job most of the time, and I ended up having like 4 or 5 different systems.
it gets very expensive, because you
Yes.
have to bear in mind that the camera's the least of it. You have to
Yeah.
get the lenses too. So
Yep.
at the moment in the UK, I don't know whether this is across Europe as well. Panasonic is offering the revised old Lumix S5, the D,
Yep.
with the contrast AF. It's still very good. With, I think it's 12 to 60 lens for ridiculous. It's like 699 UK pounds. It's silly money.
Yep.
And you think, well, if you're like me, you think it's stupid. I've got to buy it. But what I think, it's very easy to get suckered into a new system on the basis of one bargain. But the rest of that system is not going to be a bargain. So
Yep.
you might think that's amazing, getting a full frame 24 megapixel very good mirrorless camera for that kind of money, but you're not going to use just one lens. And then when you start when you start building on that system, that's when it gets expensive. And you
Yeah.
start duplicating lenses you've got in your old system. And you
Yep.
end up with two systems that end up kind of doing the same job. And you
The,
think, how did I get here? I saw
yeah.
one bargain and now I'm here.
I mean, it's very simple, right? You know, when it comes to switching system or adding system, is that okay? You got your favorite focal length or favorite lenses that you always use in your arsenals, and you know, like whether it's going to be a 50 nifty 50s or a wide angle 24-28 or a zoom lens like 24-70 in full frames. You like those focal lengths. I say, oh, these are the lenses I need. So whenever you switch, first thing you're gonna consider, I'm going to get these 3 lenses or 4 lenses straight away, you know. And then even if you just want to try it out, you know, to get a kit lens, but as soon as you're going to start getting into it, you bought the system, you bought the new camera, you're saying, no, the kit lens isn't so good. Maybe I should now start looking at the lenses that I like. And then and you end up buying the same lenses that you have with the other system and spending multiple times more because, you know, even if you sell your old system, they're not going to worth the same money and when you purchased it. And if you sell all those gear, you probably only be able to get the lens for the new system.
And it's a funny kind of accelerating process as well. You buy a bargain, you think, do you know what? I'll get another lens, and then that increases the pressure to turn it into a full system. And before you know it, a camera you bought just for occasional use as a bargain, you're now expanding into a full system. And before very long at all, you're thinking back to that original bargain, that camera, and thinking, do you know what? I need to upgrade this.
Yeah.
And you kind of lost the whole point of why you got into it, which is a cheap deal. It's a cycle that's extremely difficult to get out of. But if I can offer one thing that might help, try to think of, if you are going to invest in a new system, try to be clear about what it's for.
Yep.
Try to resist the urge to make it do everything, because it might not do some of the things your old system did as well as your old system does. Did that make sense? So, for example, you might think, it's time I swapped from Micro Four Thirds to full frame.
Yeah.
And you think, good, I'm going to just duplicate everything I've got on Micro Four Thirds in full frame, whichever full frame maker it is. But there are things you lose that you overlook, like you lose the size, you lose the stabilization.
Yeah.
These are things that are intrinsic to the MFT system. That you don't really get with full frame. It's very easy to jump to something that looks better, but lose a lot of stuff on the way that you kind of miss. So it's not, when you do swap systems, there's like a honeymoon period when you think, this is amazing, I should have done this sooner. But then about 3 or 4 months down the line, the little niggles come in and you think, oh, my old stuff was a bit better at this job or that job or this other job. So it's a kind of honeymoon period, but it wears off.
I mean, it's novelty, right? When you get into a new system, a new brand, and things are different, so you're going to go through that learning process. Everything seems exciting because you have to look for new things, look for the features or the buttons to press, and but once you get used to it, like you said, after a few months, you're used to the camera now. You know where everything is. You're starting to get into the flow of shooting, and when you get to that point, and you start to realize the strength and the weaknesses of that system, and by then you think that, you know, then you can properly evaluate so the how it compares to your old system. Hopefully by then you haven't sold your system completely and then you know, that's another thing we're going to talk about later on. So in your eyes, Rod, I mean, okay, it sounded like almost like, you know, you have to be very, very careful before you know, consider switching. You know, because I know for the past 10, 20 years now, people have been switching left and right and center. You know, every time the new camera came out, it's, oh, that sounds cool. That sounds exciting. Because we did have a lot of advancement, you know, kind of major advancement over the year, whether it's going to be resolutions, whether it's going to be AF advancements. And it did make people think, whoever brand comes up with a new features, that is going to blow people's mind. And they say, oh, that is cool. And it really did kind of attract people to buy into that system because of that.
I think over the years it's dawned on me that the camera's the least of it. Cameras come and go. You might think this year's camera could do with more resolution, or is not fast enough, or is this wrong with it or that. Next year there'll probably be a new camera. But what is different is different makers have different lens systems. And you do have to find the lens system that suits you. So, for example, the OM 1.8 primes are quite unique. Fujifilm has something similar with its own. I don't know if they still call them Fujicron primes, but the f2 lenses. Similar, but they kind of stop at. I think the longest is a 50mm, which is like a 75mm equivalent. So not quite the same range as the OM lenses. But no other system has these small, fast, inexpensive prime lenses. So you can move. You might think, well, my MFT days are over, I need to step up in quality. You move to full frame, you're not going to get that. Those lenses don't exist in a full frame system. You're going to have to accept bigger, much bigger, more expensive lenses. So if you like this, if you're a bit of a hipster like me and you like this old retro thing with old school cameras and lenses that you can travel with, that are quite light. So I might go off with my Pen F and 3 or 4 primes. You can't do that with full frame. It doesn't really exist.
No.
So if that's your thing, don't sell your old OM primes and your old pen, because
funny you mentioned about these old primes, and I also just noted a comment here. I'm going to bring it in, and it's from Thomas. The switch from Canon after 20 years, weight got annoying, and the 24-105 on the 70D was limiting, and my 12-100 video made me switch. Thank you for watching. I'm a travel photographer, and the lens is a holy grail. It's funny you mentioned about travel, because I think Michael Forster had that strength, and always has, and it still has, this particular form factor, the whole system weight thing. Even though that we keep arguing these days, okay, if you go for the 1.2 Pro lenses, they are bigger, heavier, and you can kind of get a similar sort of equivalent look in the full frame worlds, which is, similar in size with the body and the lens, because you think about the 1.2 aperture lenses on the Michael Forster system, it's kind of have the equivalent depth of field like a 2.4. And these days you can get like an f2 2.5 prime lenses in the full frame world, which are equivalent in size, but slightly cheaper than the Pro lenses from the OM system or the Panasonic world. And the body, obviously, depending on what sort of body you're throwing it into. If you're going for the OM1 or the G9 Mark II or the GX7, you are looking at big bodies. And yes, there are smaller bodies in the full frame world that will basically be that in size. But this is not really the talk we should be focusing on. We should be focusing on, the equivalent of the photography that you're talking about. So the 1.8 prime lenses that you mentioned, Rod, is unique. You look at either the Panasonic Lumix world, which is the 1.7 prime, because they have the 1.7 prime in the Panasonic Lumix brand, and the Olympus brand or OM System brand has the 1.8 aperture prime lenses. All of these prime lenses are tiny. Whether it's going to be the 12, the 17, the 25, or the 45 or 42.5 in the Lumix case. You look at the size of these lenses, you can't get them this small anywhere.
And they really don't cost a lot.
No.
And not that the money is everything, but if you're going traveling, you're going to be throwing stuff in a bag. If you had a choice, you'd use stuff that's cheap enough that you're not going to be scared to lose or break or drop it. But so I do think all round these are great little lenses for travel. I think the OM primes are a little bit more consistent, because some of the Lumix primes, they've got older, noisier autofocus, which can be a bit irritating. And I think they're a little bit more prone to fringing. Other people might have their own opinions, but as a general principle, I think these small f1.8 or f2 MFT primes exist only in this format. There is no full frame equivalent. So be careful. You you gain bigger sensors, better image quality, lower noise, higher resolutions, but beware of what you sacrifice to get it.
Yeah.
That's all I would say.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, you just you know have to consider what you're going to do with the system eventually, and just like Thomas earlier saying, if you're a traveler, you travel all the time, and you just like enjoy taking photography when you're traveling. I always would go for a much lighter system than the big
Yeah.
bulky thing. And I mean, even now that I have 4 or 5 different systems, and every time when I do travel, I always take my MFT. It's no doubt because it's so much easier for me to take, a couple of 1.8 primes. Especially now, the OM system has updated the 17 and 25 to be weather sealed. That means I don't really have to take the 1.2 anymore, which I used to take the 1.2 because they were weather sealed. But now the 1.8 are also weather sealed, so I took those two together with zoom. That will give me a little bit more reach, whether it's going to be 12 to 40 or maybe even the 40 to 150. So I get longer reach to do whatever I want to shoot. So all of these stuff will still fit into a very tiny bag, and I can carry around all day. Together with my family backpack, so I'm not overloading myself. And if you're one of those who like to track and hike, this sort of weight saving is really life changing, to be honest. And I have used full frame now, and no matter how small it is, there are light. Obviously, I mean, if you look at like something like these Nikkor lenses, these are plastic lenses. This is what the focal length is. This is 28 2.8. It's smallish, don't get me wrong, smallish, and it's pretty light because it is plastic. But it's a 2.8 aperture, and it's not particularly fast. And so if you if you're shooting in a very dim environment, you have to crank up the ISO 2 or 3 times more than the Micro Four Thirds system because you can shoot at 1.8 wide open. You're still getting more depth of field than the 2.8 from the full frame. While you can lower the ISO to get equivalent sort of quality.
There's only a couple of those inexpensive Nikon full frame primes as well, aren't there? It's only the 40 and the 28.
40 f2,
is there another
yep.
one? Yeah.
The 28 2.8 and the 40 f2, which I also have here.
So it's not like you can build a whole set of lenses with the same
Yep.
look and feel.
Yeah.
But I mean, on that subject, Angelo Playful One makes a good point about Panasonic Lumix lenses. If we're going to talk about different manufacturers and their lens strategies, I'm not a massive fan of Lumix S cameras at all. I find them quite dull. But they do make a selection of lenses that are pretty affordable for full frame, and they're all the same size. They're the same size, the same weight, they have the same handling, they have the same look and feel, which is wonderful. Compare it to my Canon system, where I have a bunch of primes of various focal lengths, every one different to the other one. I'd much rather have lenses that are matched in terms of their look and feel and handling. So I think I wouldn't buy into the Panasonic system for the cameras, but I'd consider doing it for the lenses, which I think strike a good balance between cost and performance, and most of all, consistency of design.
Yeah.
Which I think is important when you're building a system.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, that's another attractive thing about Micro Four Thirds in general, just because it's a mature system. So now they have not only just the Lumix and also OM systems lineup, but they also get third-party lenses. Even though there isn't a lot of new lenses from third party these days, but there's still a lot of legacy lenses and manual lenses around that is very affordable, and it's especially in some specialized area like ultra wide angle from Laowa. Some of the macro lenses from literally all the Chinese manufacturer make, they're all adaptable and also easy to use on the Micro Four Thirds system if you're into those photography. But overall, I mean, I wouldn't say even with the native lenses from either Panasonic or OM system are expensive by any means, to be honest, especially in today's market.
Really, no.
If you look at the 40 to 150 2.8, you talk about £1,000 for that kind of performance, that reach, the build, and a constant 2.8 aperture. You won't be able to find anything else similar to that sort of caliber in any other format at the moment.
No, and not to make this a kind of all about Micro Four Thirds, but I think lens performance is a factor. And I think if you have good lenses on a small format, it can outweigh average lenses on a bigger one.
Yep.
So you're still using Fujifilm, aren't you, Jimmy? I
Yep.
did for a long time. I don't at the moment. I felt that whatever advantages the APS-C sensor had over Micro Four Thirds was lost by what I felt were somewhat mediocre zooms. So I'd rather have a better zoom on a
Yep.
smaller sensor
Yep.
than
Yep.
than a worse zoom on a bigger one.
It,
And
you know what?
you do have to pay more money on a
Yeah.
larger format to get good lens quality.
Yeah, and when you say
Potentially,
more,
anyway.
it's actually multiple
Quite
times
a
more
lot.
usually.
Quite a
Yeah.
lot more. Yeah. Yeah.
But like I think we got a comment here. Yes, and also there are a lot of second-hand market as well. Some of these pro lenses, Micro Four Thirds, are now getting down to the level is actually very affordable for what it is. To be quite honest, you can't get a 17 1.2 fully professional built body for that sort of prices.
Yeah.
$635. That's what,
Yeah.
£450, something like that. That really
Yeah.
is a good money. Yeah.
That's a good deal. If you can get a good one at that price, you've done well. But I think with Micro Four Thirds, given that the rate of development of new product releases has kind of slowed dramatically, especially for lenses,
Yeah.
you can look at it two ways. You can say now's the time to get out, or you can say get them while you still can. So I'm kind of leaning towards the second one
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
if you think the quality is good today, you'll still think it's good in 10 years' time,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
when you won't be able to buy these lenses anymore. So I'm inclined
Well,
to say get them while you can.
well, I could add to that is you can trust me, not because I'm trying to influence you in any way, but I'm speaking to you as a professional photographer. So professional photographer only look for a couple of things: image quality and consistency. And the thing is, if I'm satisfied with things I've been shooting for the last 15 years, and I don't see the needs for upgrading, and that means it's a good tool. So, and then all the 2.8 Pro lenses I've used in the Micro Four Thirds system have all been consistent and has been really good and still functioning all these years. To be honest, I use them every single day, and most of them are now got to the point that I think that I should replace them because they're so used. And but the thing is, they still work, and I can't see that even if I got a new body, anything high resolution would make these lenses look bad, and I think they're still going to be good. And to be quite honest, I remember there was a comment in one of my videos talking about some of these Olympus lenses. Oh, they are designed for the 20 megapixel sensor, so that means that if they eventually go up to 25 or higher, would that be a problem? Well, let me tell you right now, I have used them on the G9 Mark II and the GX7, which both are 25 megapixels, and they still perform as good as ever. In fact, actually a bit better because they're a bit crispier without the AA filters.
Well, I think it's not the camera makers designed lenses down to the limitations of the sensor.
Yep.
That's not an easy thing to do anyway.
Yeah.
They might say, well, the resolution is sufficient for like a 12 megapixel sensor back in the day.
Yeah.
But I think most lenses probably out resolve older sensors anyway. I'd be surprised. I mean, there have been instances where I found lenses have not been as good put on a camera with a higher resolution sensor. I think definitely had that with Fujifilm. There was a lot of talk about this when I was working on the Nikon magazine, whether the 36 megapixel sensor of the G800 was too much for the lenses, and then the 45.7 megapixel sensor on the G850. It kind of is, but it wasn't as obvious as I found it with Fujifilm. But it kind of is. But then what can go wrong? All that can happen is you using older lenses that don't quite match the potential of the sensor, but you're still going to get more resolution than on a lower resolution sensor.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So even if your lenses are kind of at their best on a 24 megapixel sensor, your images will still look better on a higher resolution sensor. but you possibly won't get the full potential of that sensor. Your lenses won't get worse.
No, no.
They'll just be a little bit better, but not much.
No, I mean, I think, I mean, unless you're a pixel peeper, you know, when you basically blow the blow up the image 400% to inspect every single pixel, you know, it doesn't really make that much difference, to be quite honest, whether the lens can out resolve 25 or 20 or whatever. You know, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference in your photography. I mean, look, back in the film days, we care less about the ultimate resolution of the lens.
Well,
we rarely do.
It's funny you should say that, because I think in analog days you had to print stuff to look at it, and that focused your attention on how much resolution was enough. So I'm going through a thing in a moment where I'm re-photographing my old black and white negatives, and there's simply not the resolution you get with the modern digital sensor, nowhere near. Nevertheless, if you make a 10 by 8 print, or look at them full screen on a 4K monitor, I've got a 27-inch 4K monitor, but look at them full screen, they look fine. They're enough. And if you've got to decide if the character of the film is more important than the technical detail rendition, and it almost always is. But it's something we've lost. We don't print stuff now, do we? We just put it on the screen and zoom in until we can say, oh, that's not very good. But we're zooming in without any kind of context at all. So if we were still printing stuff, we might have a more balanced approach to resolution.
Maybe we should change today's topic as to let's print photograph, not watching on the screen.
Well, it's expensive. Or my suggestion would be, if you've got a 4K monitor, don't zoom in. You don't need to. Your 4K monitor has all the resolution you're ever going to need from a print. You don't need to zoom in. If it looks good, full screen on a 4K monitor, it's enough.
Yes. And don't forget that the 4K monitor is 8 megapixel.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it is. Yeah, good point. So
yes,
an 8K, a 4K monitor, I mean, might be better if Apple does some 5K monitors, which might kind of seal my argument. But even with the 4K monitor, the pixel pitch is so fine you can't see the pixels. So the detail you get on the 4K monitor, you still have to get quite in close to see the limits of the resolution. It's a good test of whether an image is sharp enough.
Yes.
Don't zoom in, just look at it on his screen, and if it's satisfactory on the screen, it's sharp enough.
Yes.
But that, I think, if you are into shooting on film, and I'm just kind of getting back into it at the moment, you have to have a different perspective, because 35mm film does not have the resolution of modern full frame sensors. In fact, I'm digitizing my old necks with my Olympus pen, EP7, and a 60mm macro, and it's obvious immediately that lens and camera have far more resolution than the negatives do, because they're resolving the grain very clearly and cleanly. The cameras I'm using has got more resolution than my negatives. But so I still like the images, though. They have it's a case of where the character of the image is more important than its technical detail.
Yes.
So
in essence, don't get bogged down by the numbers.
Don't get bogged. No, exactly. So if you do feel the need to swap systems, it's perfectly reasonable to say you like being able to zoom in and looking at the fine detail.
Yes.
But just keep in mind that just possibly it's just for your own satisfaction.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have any practical benefit, and you do have to give some stuff up too.
Yes, and ultimately, like we said earlier, is that if you do want to get it if you need it. You know, like when I buy a system, like to give a really good example, you know, many of you know that, and Rod knows already, that I got the Fujifilm X-H2S recently. And at the same time, I could have gone for the XH2, which has a high megapixel count, actually slightly cheaper than the S version, because the S version's got a stack sensor. I wasn't really gunning for the speed, which the stack sensor offered me, but I'm actually specifically want the 26 megapixel rather than the 40 megapixel, because I know I will not need it, right? And I only wanted the 26, and that's more than enough for what I need currently. And like I said, I need 26 or 24 and above, so that's the system I want to choose. That's the megapixel count I want. I don't want to overload my system, and I don't think I'll ever need 40 for this moment in time. I don't do fine art photography. I don't print huge prints, and even with 26, it's more than enough to print canvas sizes, to be quite honest. And even with my Olympus system back in the 16 megapixel days, I mean, I offer wedding albums with that kind of resolution, so it's no problem to print big with smaller count of make the resolutions. There's nothing wrong with that. And at the end of the day, when you print that big, like what your example earlier, Rod, you know, you are not going to, you know, inspect so close to the point you're trying to inspect every single little pixels or every little dot that is printed on the paper. You are viewing it from distance.
Yeah. I think zooming in affects us all. Probably affects me more than anybody else. I still do. I can't help myself. but it's out of context. If you've got a 50 megapixel camera and you zoom into 100%, and you think, oh, it's just about sharp. You're zooming into a tiny fraction of the image. It's of no practical relevance. It's very hard to stop yourself doing this. But it's quite important to try and keep in mind that enough resolution is enough. You know, how much do you need is what I'm trying to say. And I think looking back at some of my own negatives, it's kind of changing my perspective a little, because with analog film, the limits of the camera lens and the film resolution is obvious, and it's a relatively small levels of enlargement, but somehow it's more acceptable to have, you know, you've got finite amount of resolution, you know, fill the frame with the subject or don't blow it up too much. It's somehow more acceptable than with a digital image where you've got like infinite zoom, and when you've got infinite zoom, you're just, any image will fall apart and you'll be unsatisfied.
Yeah,
it's difficult. It's difficult to manage your own expectations. Really.
Yeah, and when do you draw the line, right? You know, because you know,
exactly, yeah,
it's going to be very hard. And rather than keep drilling down to these nitty gritty of pixels, perfections, and things like that, it's better just to concentrate on photography, thinking about what you want to capture.
It's almost as if it's like human nature or photographer's nature to push and push and push until you find a limit, and then be upset about it. Which is no, but I think that's what tends to happen. You know, you push and push. You think, oh, it's not fast. I'm not sharp enough. I need to zoom in more. If I zoom in here, I can see it's breaking up. It's like you're looking for things to be dissatisfied with. Whereas it's better just to take the whole image on board and accept it as a whole image for what it is, and decide then if it's satisfactory.
Yes, I mean, so as a private bias, you know, that's a very wise word. Unless you're one of those influencers or you want to be a YouTubers who like to criticize about certain products, then you buy and complain about it, make a video out of it.
It's strange. I have a completely different relationship with my analog images than my digital ones. With the digital ones, I'm looking for technical perfection. I don't know why, but it's something I do.
Yeah.
But with the analog ones, I accept what they are.
Yeah.
And I don't zoom in and pick them apart, because I know they have limits. So I just accept them for what they are. I don't know why I'm so pernickety with digital images.
I mean, I guess, you know, because in your mind, you already said that the film doesn't have the same resolutions as the digital cameras. So one thing is straight away out of the window. When you look at the images on the analog, you don't have to think about megapixels or the ultimate sharpness of it.
It's how it looks at a suitable size. Don't zoom in, because there won't be anything more to see. Just
Yep.
accept it at the size you want it.
And then you'll
And
be
if it's
looking
good
at,
enough, it's good enough.
then you'll be focusing back in photography, right? The composition, the overall aesthetic of
Exactly,
the
exactly.
photographs. Yes.
Exactly, and
Which
in
you
a
all,
strange kind of way. In a strange kind of way, analog photography seems like a ridiculous throwback that we should just forget about. But in a funny kind of way, I think it teaches us to relate to our images differently. And
yes.
that, I know we've got off switching systems, but it's kind of related. But I think in chasing perfection, you can easily lose your grip on why you started and what you're trying to do.
Well, I remember that there's some video that I saw recently about, you gain something and you also lose something at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
This is exactly what you just said here. Like all the modern digital camera now, we have a lot of new features, new things. These are things that we gain because they're new. But at the same time, because of all these automations, all these advancements, you also lose a bit of photography that you're so used to or trained up to until the point you're picking up the photography. And it is interesting. I use it as like a driving thing again. I always use driving as an example. Like these days, not many people take car lessons with manual, right? They all go for
No, that's right,
automatics
yeah.
these days.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like that. Like if you give any young drivers a manual car, they won't be able to operate it because they don't know how to drive a stick, right? And in some ways, you can think about photography in the same way. People who grew up in the last, with all the digital evolutions that we have now, all these automations, and suddenly if you give them very simple, very basic a mechanical camera, they probably find it very strange how to operate these things, and because they didn't grow up the way that we did, or train to understand how these little dials would do certain things.
It's like it's like there are comparatively few people left who have the
Yeah.
habit of winding up their watch before they go to sleep. You say that to somebody today, they'd say, "You have to do what? You have to wind it up every day? What? What the?"
No, they got
So-
new they got a new habit now. They have to charge it up every day.
Well, actually, yeah. If you got an Apple Watch, I guess that's what you would have to do. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
just charge it every night.
you swapped a mechanical device for an electronic one, but yeah, you would.
Yeah,
I
but I mean,
forgot that.
it does make it sound a bit old, but I think it is true in the sense that in photography, this is exactly how we feel these days. You gain something, you lose something, and I always suggest people, before you learn about the new thing, make sure that you understand the old way of making photographs, because that way, we talked about that many times. So if the new thing doesn't work, which quite often case it will happen, one point, at some point in your journey, and some of this AI stuff or this automation is not 100% foolproof. They will be fooled. There will be malfunctions from time to time. They couldn't acquire focus, or something does happen, and it will make you lose the job or lose the photographs. In that case, you kind of have to switch back to the old school way, which is still happening. You can do everything full menu on the camera and do it that way. And I mean, as a professional, like I utilize a lot of auto features these days because they are available and they are quick, and in most cases they do work. But there are times they don't. When that time happens, I have to switch back to menu focus, menu exposure, menu this, menu that, to override it, because I make a better decision than the computer. And that's the way that I think that photographers should be aware and learn about these things. And because it's quite easy to blame the camera, especially people who didn't quite understand some of these technologies. Oh, that didn't work. Why shouldn't it work? Because there are times that computer can be tricked. We talked about metering system earlier, and then it's a very easy thing to trick these days. And how do you get a perfect shot, right?
Sometimes you know where you are with a dumb machine. You don't always know where you are with a clever one. So a manual camera is pretty dumb. So you have to do the thinking, but at least you know what's going to happen. Whereas a fully automatic camera, you have to know what the camera's going to do so that you can do something about it if it's wrong. But I think the whole history of camera development even from about, I suppose, the 1980s has been increasing automation, where the camera does more of the stuff so that the photographer doesn't have to, or doesn't have to know so much stuff.
Yeah.
But I think what's happened, it hasn't made cameras simpler. All that's happened is that instead of having to know how to do everything yourself,
Yeah.
you still have to understand it so that you can stop the camera doing it wrong on those occasions when it might do it wrong. So all the energy that used to go into doing shutter speed and aperture now goes into exposure compensation or changing metering patterns just to get around known limitations of the camera's automation. So it's kind of stuff has become more automatic, but we still end up having to do just as much work somehow because it doesn't always do it right.
No, you're quite right there. So in some way, you know, I think that we talked about a few points that relating to the fundamentals of photography, and that has a big point to what we discussed in the overall terms about switching, because everything we just talked about has nothing to do with system or brand, right? You think about it, and that means, you know, like if you are familiar with your system, you know how it operates, you know how to take a photograph. And it doesn't matter what brand it is, because I don't think it really make a huge difference from one system to another, despite what, of course, all the marketing material may suggest. And it's the same thing, you know, like the old camera, it just have different menu system, and that's it.
I see a few people have mentioned the swaps they have done or sorts they might consider.
Yeah.
I have one tip as a veteran swapper. and
Veteran
remorseful purchaser is by all means invest in a new system, but don't sell your old one.
Absolutely.
Because one day you'll think, oh, I wish I'd kept it. Because it's this thing again of you gain stuff, but you also lose stuff, and you often don't appreciate the value of what you've lost.
Yeah.
Until later. And I think on countless occasions I've sold old systems and then either regretted bitterly doing it or kind of bought them back again, perhaps used, just to have them back. Because I've not found any one system which is perfect for me. And I think a lot of us react to this in a kind of emotional way as well as a practical one. You get bored. You get bored with the gear you've got. You think you need something. You need to take a step into the unknown or a step sideways and come at this differently to kind of reinvigorate your photography. And swapping systems is a good way of doing it. Yep. I just think you could sell your old system to kind of partly fund it, but you're not going to get a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
And you might get a whole lot of heartache if you think, oh, I wish I hadn't. I wish I hadn't.
Yes.
Because it's the things you lose that come back to you when it's too late. Like, you know, like stuff like you might be used to, like, I love the twin top dials on Olympus and Ohm cameras. I'm so used to them, you know, exposure compensation, aperture, shutter speed, back dial, front dial. It's very convenient, intuitive. I don't have that on my Sony or my Canon. You know, EV compensation, it's a little bit trickier. On a Canon, the metering has to be active. You know, that you get 5 seconds after half press and shutter release for the EV compensation control to work, and it's just an obstacle that I didn't have before. And things like zooming in on an image you've taken on my OM gear, well, you just turn the back dial. It is a back dial, isn't it? I think so.
The back dial, the back
dial.
Yeah.
Whereas on my Sony and my Canon, you have to press the magnifier button first.
Same as Nikon.
you keep pressing to zoom in, or you turn the dial to zoom in further. But it's just not intuitive, and it's the stupid stuff that you rely on day to day that doesn't seem important that really sticks with you. So even if something is similar to a control system, if it's simple and intuitive and quick, if you lose that and you go to something which makes just an everyday task more complicated. You know, that's a real irritation. Yeah, you've got more megapixels, you've got better low light capability, but you really hate that playback zoom. You know, the qualities sound important and the controls sound trivial. But when it comes to being out there using your camera, the controls aren't trivial. They do matter. And you can be completely fed up with a good camera. And wish you hadn't got it. Or wish you could go back to your old one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that brings into the next point I want to say. Instead of switching, I mean, I think that it's probably better if you think you do need certain features or certain things from an other system that your current system don't offer, then you add to what you have rather than switching. Because not only for the reasons that you just mentioned, but I think that it works better to have multiple system for your needs rather than you know thinking about you know
Yeah.
all these latest and the greatest stuff or fastest or whatever.
So in my head now, instead of trying to think of my Canon and Nikon and OM systems as complete systems, I think of my OM system as being portable travel photography with primes and a kind of hipster retro style. I think of my Sony as being a kind of practical travel camera. It's got a couple of lenses which are very good in the Sony mount, and the Canon I think of as being video and action and autofocus because that's what that's good at. But I've
Yeah,
probably got
yeah,
too many lenses for each. Now I've understood what each is good at. I don't
yep,
need so many lenses, but I think this is the thing. If you've got an OM system camera and you wish it's better at video, and you think, "Do you know, should I upgrade to Lumix S? Should I get switch to Canon?" I would simply say, stay with what you've got and get a GH5 Mark II. They're not very
yep.
dear now, or a GH6, still micro four thirds, but it's a camera that you'll only use for video. But at least you haven't had to swap systems. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'll just go on to the
yep.
door a sec. Sorry.
No problem. So I mean, I think that's a good point there, and I mean that's exactly what I did for the past 2.5, maybe even 3 years now. I mean, I added multiple system to my arsenal to satisfy different jobs. Many of you know that I'm not only a portrait photographer, but I'm also a travel and documentary photographer. So I will need tools for those, as well as, of course, making YouTube videos and general commercial projects, filming projects for brands in the UK. So I do need to have video cameras. So and because of all the different needs that I have for different jobs that I have, I now added multiple systems in my studio. So like I have Nikon, I have Fuji, I have Lumix, and also OM system. Both of them are Micro Four Thirds, so they are good as very specific jobs that I want them to do. It's funny how it becomes like that, because for a very long time, I was a bit like probably everybody really, and I stick with one system. And I always even call myself a brand loyalist, to just stick with one brand. I think that brand's going to be the one that I'm going to stick with for forever. Which, in some extent, in the old days, you could say that you could behave like that in the analog days because there's not much difference between each brand. So if you stick one brand, it makes sense because you can keep on buying the ecosystem there. You buy the flash, you buy the lenses, and you invest in it. You invest in that brand. But now in digital time, because now it's so different in terms of each brand can or cannot do. They're quite distinct, Certain like Rod just said, like some systems are so good at one thing while not very good with the others, and then so you just have to mix and match, and depending on what sort of thing you do most of the time. But if you're only going to be doing a couple of things, then maybe one system is enough for you, and that's totally fine. But if you are like myself, who are working photographer, who need to do multiple different jobs, different type of jobs, that you may end up having multiple cameras and multiple systems only because you need them to do your job, right? I could potentially use my own system gear to do a lot of filming stuff. That is correct. I could potentially do that, but as my business grow, the demand also for the quality that I need to get is higher. So by then, you're basically I'm outgrowing what the OM system can currently give me in the video terms, and that means I have to get something that is more decent, that's better in terms of video quality, and that's why I'm stepping up into the Lumix, and then now I'm shooting with the Fujifilm as well, the XH2S, which is also more or less like a GX7 in some ways. It's more like a video-centric camera with still capabilities, and so it's how it is. It's how you get into buying multiple different systems at the first place. But I think these days, there's no point sticking with one brand or one system. You
No.
probably just get what you need.
And I think you can kind of stay on top of the cost and keep it all practical by not imagining that each system has to do everything. Just buy into a system for specific tasks, and you might find you only need a couple of lenses for that particular camera and that task. That just because you bought a camera body, you don't have to expand your lenses for that body to do everything you could possibly want to do.
You're
So
not
if you
replacing the other system. Yeah.
no, no, that's exactly, yeah. So if you do need a camera for video, don't be tempted into a hybrid camera that can do everything that your old camera did and more. That's going to be expensive, and you're still going to find holes in its specs or its performance or its features that will annoy you. Instead, figure out what the video is that you need to shoot,
Yeah.
and just get the gear for that, because it's almost certainly going to be a different set of lenses. Maybe only one lens that you need for your video work compared to your photography. So kind of having a proper handle on what you need the other system for
Yeah.
will kind of stop you trying to make it a complete system when it's not really necessary. I mean, if you think you have to have a 47 megapixel full frame camera for landscapes, get that camera for landscapes. But I'm pretty sure you're only going to need a couple of different lenses for your landscape work.
Yeah.
You're not going to be shooting sports and action. You might be shooting macro, possibly,
Yeah.
but your 47 megapixel camera won't be good at everything. You're just getting it for landscapes. Think of it that way. Just get a couple of good landscape lenses to go with it, and
Yep.
keep your other stuff for all the other jobs that don't need that resolution, but do need lightweight and portability and all the rest.
Right. Someone commenting about our volume.
Is it me, or is it Jimmy, or is it both of us?
Yeah, I can see my volume is perfectly fine. It's in line
Right.
with usual. I don't see the
Oh, okay.
difference there. So not entirely sure. Not entirely sure. Right, let me just see if we can angle it a bit better. I don't know. Which would make much
No.
difference.
Shall I shout? No, don't do that, Rob. Don't shout. No.
Right. So yes, it is. I mean, I think that it makes sense. To talk like that, because especially now in 2020s now, things has changed quite a bit, in especially modern photographers who will definitely dabble into videos one way or the other, and especially all the influencers are pushing all the hybrid stuff. You need to have both features and functionalities. People are getting into it, and that's for sure. But like I always said, we discussed it probably more than a dozen times now. There's no such thing as hybrid cameras, and hybrid cameras can do both really, really well. Like I said, if I'm taking photos, I take photos. So if I do videos, I do videos. I'm not doing both at the same time. I just don't think it makes sense. If I do that, I might as well just get one camera that is really, really good at video and one is really, really good with stills, and to have two separate systems for that, rather than having just one system trying to satisfy both. And I always find things that is not good enough for either. So that's why I always think that GX7 is by far a better camera than the G9 Mark II, because even though it may have similar sort of features, but I think the GX7 is still much better video cameras than the G9 Mark II. But if I'm gonna have a video camera, then on the Lumix side, what about stills? And I still think that the OM system is a better still cameras than the G9 Mark II, because of the computational features that we have, because of the slightly better body that we have. And I just can't get used to the G9 Mark II body. Forgive me for those who might have one, and I just can't get used to it. In fact, I sold it already, and
It's gone, is it? Oh dear.
it's gone. It's gone. I'm keeping the GX though, the GX7 and the GX6.
Yeah.
I'm keeping them at the moment for my filming
Oh,
stuff.
keeping both. Right.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
keeping both for now, and
Yeah, yeah.
because I can have one cam A and cam B, and they both have, same mount, so I can use different lenses on them, and so it's quite easy for me to swap them around. So that's what I do. But for stills, yes, for Micro Four Third, I still think the OM1 Mark II and the OM3 are better stills cameras compared to the Lumix. And also form factor is smaller, and to me anyway, better built than the G9 Mark II. It's nothing wrong. The G9 Mark II is still a great camera. If you're already a Lumix cam, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm only speaking from my point of view, from what I
Doesn't
do
really
and
suit
what I
you.
use. Yeah, it just doesn't suit me.
Yeah. I going back to this idea of trying not to make every camera the center of a complete system.
Yeah.
I had a moment of revelation a few years ago when at the time I had an A7R2.
Yeah.
I had an A6000. So the A7R2 is full frame. The A6000 is APS-C. And on for the A6000, I had a little Laowa 9mm f2.8, which is really wide, really nice on that camera. And I was thinking, oh gosh, I've got the A7R2. I shouldn't be shooting with the A6000. If only there's an equivalent for the A7R2. But then it dawned on me, I've got both. Just keep the A6000 in the bag with that lens on that I love, and take it out when I need an extra wide shot, and then shoot everything else with my A7R2. It was stupid of me to try and to think that one camera, the A7R2, could be the center of everything, when it's much simpler just have another camera for those particular shots that happen to have the perfect lens. It's quite small and compact and handy. So I've always been a 2 or 3 camera person, but I still have to resist the urge to make every one of these cameras the center of a complete system. But it's ridiculous. It's unnecessary.
I have to say that yes, and you probably will have, even you have multiple systems, you probably still have a primary system that you use most of the time, and the others are doing where as and when you need them.
Yeah, but it's quite useful as well to have two cameras for different jobs. One ready for video, one ready for stills.
Well,
or one to take out in the evening when you need something compact and unobtrusive, instead of this huge great mirrorless with a 24-70 on.
It's not uncommon, right? Especially those who are as old as we are. And back in the analog days, it's very common for everyone to carry 2 or 3 cameras, right? For different film speed or different, like one black and white row, one color rows in the body. So you got 2 of them.
It is useful to have 2 cameras. They can be set up completely differently too. You might have one set up for maybe HDR bracketing or burst mode. Another one set up for high resolution stills, and it's a bit of a luxury, but it's quite nice not to have to change lenses.
No,
that you've got 2 cameras in your bag, one with one lens, one with another. I mean, it sounds like an expensive luxury, but it's just very convenient.
Yeah,
and if
it is,
and if you use Sony like I do, you're kind of reluctant to swap lenses because the sensors are like dust magnets. So you kind of want to leave lenses on when you can.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because we talked about all of this because this very morning I went out for a couple of photo shoots this morning. And on the way back, I just stopped to do a test on some of the iPhone accessories that I'm about to make a video of. But when I was doing that, another photographer bumped into me and asked me what I was doing, and we had a little conversation there. He was using a Fujifilm X-E3, and a compact camera, a mirrorless camera.
Yeah. I love the X-E3.
And then I was like, "Oh, you're using Fuji?" I said, "Yeah." And we had this conversation. I asked him what he does for a living. He's actually like me. He's a portrait photographer, and so using the X-E3 for portraits. Oh no! I got my A7 IV in the back, and then so he's actually carrying 2 cameras, and then the A7 IV is his work camera. And when he finished work, he put the camera back in his bag and took his XE out for street photography. So it's very common that people do that these days. You do see that quite often, that people have 2 or 3 cameras, the one for work and then one for just walkabout and one for travel. And they just pick whatever you think you need for the day and call it.
Yeah. So instead of swapping systems, by all means, add systems, but I'd just be hesitant to get rid of the old stuff.
Yeah, and
I
you
mean,
know what?
I got rid of my old Nikon D7200 DSLR and the Sigma 18-35 1.8. I should never have sold those 2 things. That's just stupid. I mean, there's a lot of competition, but that's got to be one of the stupidest things I've done.
Yeah.
amongst many.
Well,
But I always regret that. Yeah.
on the other hand, I seems to be hoarding stuff. I don't sell stuff. I don't sell enough stuff. So I have way too many cameras and way too many systems now. Well, I mean, the main thing the main system that I use are the one that I already mentioned. But I do have others that's kind of lying around, not doing too much at the moment. Like the Leica that I still have. That I don't use that often now, unfortunately. And but I don't think it. I don't, because if I sell it, I'm not gonna. Ooh, what's that?
I
Oh,
don't know.
the former
I'm not
pan.
using former pan. It's is it from the Czech Republic or
I
somewhere
think it's
around there?
I think one of the Soviet, yeah, and
Oh, is it?
yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's one of those one of those places. Yeah, former pan is
So,
quite a interesting
so
film.
oh, is it? Oh, you're trying to warn me. so, so you've got an M6, haven't you, Jimmy? Is that right, or is it an M4?
I have the M6, yes, right
Right.
here.
Can I? If you are thinking of going back to using it,
Yep.
oh, it's nice, isn't it? It's not kind of on the subject of swapping systems. Can I just show you this?
Yep. Oh, the digitizer.
No, well, it's actually from it's an Amazon special. I think it's JJC or
Oh, the
is that what the
JJC.
company
Yep.
is called?
Yeah,
20,
JJC.
27 pounds.
Yep.
And it's got its own LED panel,
Yep.
and it's got a negative holder which actually holds the negatives flat.
Yeah.
And you just slide it through, and I take a picture with my Olympus 60mm macro.
Yeah.
And it's just, I would say to anyone, film scanners are all very well if you can still find one, but this is just so much quicker, and the quality is really very good.
It's funny because I haven't tried these type of digitizing my own necks for a while now. I mean, I have an old school proper film scanner.
Yeah, they're slow though, aren't they?
Very, very slow. It takes about, I would say, probably 2 minutes per scan.
Yeah.
And then I remember I spent, when it first came out, this scan, I used the Nikon Cool Scan 5, which is a very popular scan back then.
Very good. Quite expensive, but
it's still very good. It's still very good. Actually, when I bought it, it was second hand. It wasn't even that expensive until that was before the inflation. I remember I paid that scanner with all the accessory for about £300 at a time from eBay, and I bought it. I did all my digitizing, all my old snap. It took me 2 years to digitize all my films.
But so I've just been using that kit and my EP7 with the 60mm macro, and it's like 15 seconds a shot. Do you know, allowing for taking a shot on the cell timer, moving it, checking the alignment, doing the next one. You can do a film in about like 15 minutes. Amazing.
Yeah.
So I'd do that rather than the scanner. But yeah, so if you did keep all your old film gear, this is another reason. If you are going to swap, still keep your old stuff, because things come around, and
they do.
now it's become much more practical to digitize your old negatives than it used to be, because you don't have to pay a lot for a good macro lens. You can get these cheap little kits to speed the whole thing up. And modern digital camera sensors are more than good enough for the detail in your old negatives. It's become practical now for me to shoot film again, where for many years it wasn't. So I'm glad I kept the old stuff.
I may consider getting one of those because I got a couple of film projects coming up, which I haven't done film for a while, so it will be probably easier for me to just digitize like that.
I'll tell you a couple of things that have struck me doing this. One is that the negatives don't have the kind of dynamic range that would trouble my camera sensor. I was worried that the density of the negatives and the pale parts would be too much, but they're not. They're fine. They fit the dynamic range of the sensor particularly well. The other thing I found was that analog film, those who shot a lot with it will know this, but it has very limited shadow detail, but the amount of highlight detail you can recover from black and white film is just insane. It's insane. You get lots of grain with it, but it's incredible. So it's been a lot of fun. It's it's nice to go back to these old negatives and discover that they have, we talk about lenses having a different character.
Yes.
Analog film has a
Also
completely
has it,
different
yes.
character to digital images. And it's
Yes.
only when you go back to look at it again with the benefit of modern digital technology, you realize that it has something
Yes.
that we've kind of lost. I mean,
Yes.
in many technical ways,
Well,
digital images are superior. But
yes.
in terms of this character, something is gone.
Yes. Well, this is probably the way we always try to explain to people when we say images are or modern images are too clinical, and that's probably exactly what we're
Yeah.
trying to say.
Yeah.
Is that when you look at the aesthetics of it, and then the old analog images, whether scan or prints, they have completely different look to the modern images. Not just about sharpness, but it's the actual presentations of it, the grain structures. It's very, very different.
The way the tones translate and the way
Oh, yes.
the way the highlights tail off, and there's something in these black and white negatives which gives you this extended highlight tonal range, but you still got the mid-tone contrast. It's hard to explain. The one thing I've discovered is that if you bring them into Lightroom and try Lightroom's AID noise on the grain, no chance. It hasn't got a clue what to do with it. Has no clue whatsoever. But the grain's part of it, isn't it? So
Yeah. I mean, I've tried it. I've tried it. You know what?
Yeah.
Well, I even used to use the Topaz Photo Studio AI to try and enhance a couple of my old, well, not my images, actually my father's old neck. So like I digitized it, and obviously back in his time, we are talking about like the 60s and things. So like the films were less advanced compared to the 90s films. So the grains were bigger, I would say slightly more coarser compared to the later ones. Obviously, it's a bit faded as well. So I try to restore that photograph by bringing into Photo AI. And then, so the AI, what it does, it couldn't do anything whatsoever. So wasted about 15 minutes of rendering time. I think the AI tried to figure out what, like you said, what those grains are. And then I think, is it noise? But it's not quite noise. It doesn't know what it is.
It's too big to be noise, and it's everywhere. Somebody's taking a picture of a load of gravel. I better keep that in.
So it end up didn't really enhance the photo at all. It's trying to make up something, and at the same time it's trying to make up with the eyelashes. The background where the mountains are. What are those? Are they trees or grains? Are they? What is it? It's all mushed together. So like I end up just didn't do anything at all.
I kind of like the idea that the analog film has defeated the AI. I kind of like that in a strange kind of way. But the thing with analog film is it is what it is.
Yes.
You don't get any choices. You have to go out with the intention of exploiting its particular character. You can't change your mind later. So I think now what I tend to do is I don't tend to switch systems now in the way that I did, looking for the perfect system.
Yeah.
Instead, I try and think a bit, if I have an uncontrollable urge to buy a bargain, like for example the Lumix S5D that's currently a silly price, I'll just try and remind myself that it's only for use with one or two different lenses in one or two specific circumstances. I'm not trying to build a system around it. And also I think I'm now much less likely to sell my old gear, because I don't think there's been one occasion where I've sold old gear where I haven't regretted it. Because you only realize what you've given up later on. And you have a hankering for things that you've lost.
Right.
So maybe I've just described a hoarder.
Oh well, that's me then. That's totally me. That's totally me. But I will be interested though, is that for everyone who's in the room with us at the moment, and do you have any urge to buy anything this Christmas? based on what is happening around, things that you may caught
Good
your eyes.
question.
I just want to see whether you are interested in getting something. I didn't intend to buy any more new cameras this year. This year, I'm talking about, not next year.
Oh, next year's another year, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, another
Yeah.
year, another year, another hoarding period. But I did buy something, and which is will be a shock to you guys. I'm going to show it to you when it arrives. It's a little bit quirky, a little bit different. It's from it's a little bit retro thing going on here, but I'm trying not to spoil the surprise. I will show it to you guys when it arrives. I did do some research before I actually purchased that thing because it keep on pumping into my social feed, so like I just couldn't resist myself when I click on it, and I had to look at it and did some more research about, there are people actually reviewing it, and it seems to be a very quirky, fun thing to do. It's not too expensive. I'm not going to spend hundreds and hundreds on and something that I don't think I'm going to use for a long time. But it's kind of maybe like a one-off fun, for Christmas. So that might be quite a cool thing to do. But I will show you once that arrive. It's definitely very retro, very old school, very vintage inspired, right? It's still digital, so let's leave it at that.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
I thought I knew what it was, but now I don't. Okay, we'll have to wait and see.
So, what about you, Rod? Has anything caught your eyes?
I've always been a sucker for a bargain.
Yep.
And where I've always gone wrong in the past is you buy a bargain.
Yeah.
Then you have to build up a system around it, and it's not a bargain anymore.
Right.
So I'm trying very hard not to buy a Lumix S5G at a silly price, mainly because there's no point. I've already got two full frame cameras of that kind of resolution. Why am I even considering it? It's only because it's cheap.
Yeah.
So I'm the perfect marketing target, really.
Well, look. No,
you can always sell to me on price.
I think everyone's looking for a bargain, right? And I did stumble across the Black Friday deal today from Insta360, the Ace Pro 2, the action camera. And at the moment, they're doing the extra big bundle for like £360, including like a lot of accessories that you used to have to pay for, which is quite dear.
Yeah.
So now you're getting essentially everything with it, and almost, the camera's half price basically. To me, it sounded like a very good deal. But the thing is, do I need it? No, I already have the Action 4. Right? I already have the Insta360 X5. I already have all of this stuff. I don't need another action camera, even though it's a good deal.
That's the trouble. Though. All you're buying is a bargain. You're not buying something you actually want.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get caught up in that.
Yeah.
And you always get annoyed with yourself afterwards. But if you don't need it, don't buy it. Doesn't matter how cheap it is.
Yeah.
Things don't become more useful when they get cheaper.
No,
if
that's good. That's a good word.
They're still not useful.
Yeah. And I saw Vermis had a comment here. Just bring it up. Right. Just want to show you. Not trying to make you feel bad, but I do have it. The 50 to 200.
I knew this was going to come out at some point. I knew we would get the whole live stream without the 50 to 200.
I do think it's a great lens. I mean,
Jimmy, take the lens cap off so we can see all the glass. That'll make it even worse. I'll make it even worse.
Look at that.
Oh no.
Look at the size.
Right, that's enough. Put it away.
It's great. It's a great lens, like I said, and I think this lens does make a good upgrade if you have the 40 to 150, and if you need the focal length, and I think it's a good upgrade. But if you don't need this, I think the 40 to 150 is still a great lens. So like, I'm not trying to say this is way better than the 40 to 150. It is sharper, yes. It is better built because it's more expensive. It's higher grade lens compared to the 40 to 150, but doesn't mean that 40 to 150 isn't a good lens. In fact, I've been using that lens professionally for over 10 years. So that is a really something to say. But like I said earlier, if I don't complain about it, it's a great tool. And then that lens is a great tool for me for the last 10 years. I only got this because not only give me more reach compared to the older lens, it's newer. And also because that lens, like I said earlier, a lot of my pro lenses are well used by now. So some of them do, I think that is probably on the last leg.
It probably needs servicing and realigning
Yeah,
at some point.
quite possibly. But if I spend the money to service and do things, and just for the longevity for the next 10, 15 years, I might as well upgrade to a better lens. And for having that little more reach, it does help me a little bit more in terms of flexibility when it comes to doing different type of photography, for instance. Because recently I do dabble a little bit about wildlife stuff, so not so much, not hardcore, but a little bit of reach does help me quite a
Going to
bit.
the dark side, Jimmy.
I
Heading
try
for
not
the
to.
dark side.
Can someone blame me when OM System keep advertising outdoor stuff?
I know. You'll be getting a folding stool next, and a spotting scope.
I do have a couple of binoculars.
I knew it.
Well, I got one as a freebie from when I ordered the OM5. It was a part of the deal. So like when you order the OM5, one of the freebie was the binoculars.
Of course, I remember that deal. That's another one I successfully resisted.
Yeah. Well, you haven't missed much.
But no. but but here's a proposition then. So somebody who currently uses, say, Fujifilm or Sony or some other brand might see that OM system 150 to 200 and think that is the lens I need for my bird photography, and there's nothing like it in my system. Should I swap to an OM system? My advice there would be, if you're doing that, if you need that lens, just get that lens and a body, but keep your other system for what you always used to use it for.
Yeah.
But if you have that specific purpose in mind, just get a lens and a body specifically for that purpose.
Yes.
And accept the idea maybe you do have to have two systems.
And it also makes financial sense depending on how you look at it. I mean, if you look at, let's say if you're full frame users already, you have, all the stuff that you do day-to-day photography, whether it's going to be a general zoom and a couple of primes. And if you want to, let's try a little bit of wildlife. Let's, I'm going to a safari trip, next year. I want to do something longer, better shots and things like that.
Yeah.
Then you're starting digging into, maybe do a little bit of research about what sort of lenses should be using for that type of photography. And you soon realize you probably have to spend on upwards of 6, 7, 10K on the lens for your system, for your current full frame system, minimum, for the quality that you want.
Yeah. It could cost you a lot less to compromise and get a very specific camera and lens combination from another system for a specific job than to try to make your existing system do something it's going to struggle with. So you might have a Sony A7R5 for your landscapes, but you're looking at this OM system lens for birding, and there's no way you can ever make your A7R5 do what that lens does. There aren't any lenses that you can afford to do that job.
Or the speed, won't have the speed. Yeah. So
if you bird stuff, get that lens and an OM1 too maybe.
Yep.
But keep your Sony gear.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think by the time you're thinking about all these upgrades to get your current system work for what you want to do, it may even cost you way more than actually getting a secondary system just to do that job. Like let's say, like you get the 40 to 1 to the 50 to 200 that I have right here, including the OM1, together will still be cheaper than buying another lens in the full frame world for that kind of reach. Let alone 2.8 aperture. If you think about 2.8 aperture, you're going to be spending way too much, and compared to that,
it's going to be a big lens. I'd have to check to see if there are any equivalents. I don't think there are. So it seems like a strange compromise to have two systems for two jobs, but it may be the best solution if you've got a Fujifilm GFX 100. But you also like street photography. You're not going to be able to adapt that camera for inconspicuous on the fly street photography. It's not going to
Yeah.
happen. Just get a Ricoh GR4
Yep.
or a little pen with a prime lens, or
Yep.
do that. Get another camera that's better for that particular job. But keep your GFX
Yeah.
for all
Yep.
your other stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, we're not trying to. The whole point about today's conversation is really trying to validate whether you should be switching.
Don't switch. Don't switch.
Yeah, it's because we've been there. I mean, I think the amount of time we're switching systems and the amount of time we wasted and money that we wasted.
Yeah.
You think about it, and I think it's just probably make more financial sense just to add certain cameras or certain lenses as a secondary system, just to do certain things that you really want to try out or do. Because by the time you go around in circle, you might still end up with this same system that you originally started with, and then like maybe keeping some of the other system. So you might be going around in circle multiple times before you realize it. But by the time, you may have wasted thousands and thousands of pounds of dollars during that process, because every time you sell, especially in digital camera bodies doesn't really hold any money. You know, like after a year or two, when you sell it, you're getting way less than half of it. And when you buy any new gear is always going to get more expensive. So when you have to top it up to get the new camera, and you think about the math, after several years, it's a lot of money.
If I wanted to get out of my Canon system now and put the money towards a different one, the way I look at it is so a company like MPP, for example, will say, okay, we'll give you X amount for your whole system.
Yep.
If you saw your whole system on sale at that price, you'd buy it, wouldn't you? So for example, let's say my Canon and a whole bunch of lenses, let's say MPP would offer me £2,000.
Yeah.
If I saw that camera and all those lenses in almost as new condition being sold for that money, my bargain circuit would kick in and I'd buy it. So it's ridiculous for me to sell something that I would snap up the next day because it's a bargain. Do you see that? I know that sounds like a rather complicated argument, but don't sell your old gear at a price where you would buy it.
Yep.
You have to. So I had a lucky escape with my Olympus 60mm macro.
Yep.
I sold mine when I shouldn't have done. But I was able to buy a nearly new one for the same as what I sold the old one for. So I got away with that. But mostly, I've sold my old gear for a very low price.
Yeah.
When it's just worth more than that.
Yeah, I know. Like I still regretting that selling a few of my Canon lenses, and one of my all-time favorite, the 85 1.2 L2 for the EF mount. I bought that lens for £1,200 in the UK, but that was like years and years ago. And I sold it for to London Camera Exchange, I remember, and then they took it for £500. It was mint condition. It was mint. They claimed there was a dust in the lens, so they knock off the price. No matter how much I look at it, there's no dust in there.
It's a curious thing, isn't it? But that lens is an example of a product that has you might call it, at the time we call it imperfections. I don't remember the autofocus being very quick, and it wasn't especially sharp wide open, I don't think. But then Canon moved over to the 85 1.4, which was much more modern design, much better optically. But a lot of people, I think, moved to the new lens and then thought, it's not like the old one. Doesn't give me the look that the old one did. So
exactly.
Be careful what you sell.
Yeah, the 1.2. The 1.2 just had that character. We keep talking about the character. It just had that character. I still want to get one. If I see one for £500, I might jump on it.
You won't. I don't think you will.
Yeah.
Because it. So I think this is another argument for being careful about what you sell. If you absolutely have to sell stuff to be able to buy a thing you absolutely have to have, then do it. But don't expect to have no regrets because there's always some.
Right, we do have a question, Uncle Ease and Easy. And I have a old gear. EM5 Mark One need an upgrade, and a suggestion that are small and lightweight. First of all, new or used, and what's your budget? If you're sticking with Micro Four Third, of course I can help you because I have a great deal of knowledge about what you should be getting, similar to that. But you know, if you talk about that kind of size, the EM1 is a pretty small camera. If you like that, obviously depending on your needs.
Isn't it
the original, the Mark One?
The original, yes, OM5, not the OM5.
Yeah.
The EM51. Is that the one?
Yeah, I actually have it.
Is that 16 or 12 megapixels?
12.
16. It's 12, is it?
12. Yeah, the very first one, I think. Yeah.
And the Mark II is 16.
Yeah.
So, my question would be, what's wrong with it that needs improving?
Okay, use this fine. Micro Four Third, street mainly, street photography. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say the Mark II is better.
Yeah.
Probably not very dear used, and it's a nice feeling metal camera. The three is better technically, but doesn't have the same feel.
No, because from the Mark III onward, it's all become plastic.
Yeah.
And it's mainly really the feel of it. I think, but in terms of the build, the hold, body shapes and everything, I think the Mark II is very decent. I do like my Mark II. It still had the same tactile feel of the Mark One. But enhanced functionalities, and also the switches and the 2x2 dials on the top plates are much better compared to the original. Because the original Mark One is very flimsy. The turn dial is quite thin, like a disc, like a metal disc on top. Okay. But the Mark II onward, the disc has become a proper full thick style. Yes.
I think Pen Fs are probably still quite expensive, but that could be another alternative. Other than that, I'd just say go for it and get an OM5, an OM5 too.
Yeah,
bit plasticky, but technically very good.
Yeah, and someone mentioned about EM1. Right, that's a good question. If you are considering moving on to the EM1, which is basically DSLR body shape, you know, have a proper grip, a bigger grip, bigger body, and excuse me, you might as well go for the Mark II, not the Mark 1, for the EM1, because the Mark II is way better than the Mark 1 technically and built. Also, it has a bigger battery as well, so it lasts a lot longer than the Mark 1. The Mark 1 still uses that flimsy battery that you have with your EM1, the EM5. So if you want better battery life, better weather seal, better built body, better AF, I think the Mark II, the EM1 Mark II, is a fantastic buy now, because I think the second-hand market, that camera is, in the UK at least, the MPB is selling roughly about 250, 300 quid for a decent example. So it's bargain. It's bargain. You got hybrid AF, you know, which is really good. 5-axis stabilization, actually better than the EM5 Mark II as well in terms of stabilization. You got bigger, brighter EVF. I think overall it's a better body altogether. So if you think about EM1, that is, then I think the Mark II would be really good for the price. Yep.
It is just a bigger camera, but that can be an advantage. It's just a bit easier to handle and it's better with bigger lenses if that's what you're going to go for. Yeah,
absolutely. And of course, you know, like there are Mark III and an OM1 and one Mark II, and I don't think you need to go all that. I think the Mark II is more than enough for majority of the cases that you want to use for travel and street photography.
The last time I looked, the Mark III is a fairly big jump in price on the used market. And it's a better camera, but not such a big
hugely.
step.
Yeah, not hugely. No. So EM1 Mark II, yes. Yes, that is, yes.
Good one to get, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a really good buy. If you find a decent, nice, clean example, you should go for it because, I think you won't go wrong with that. It's definitely going to be a better camera than the EM5, that's for sure. If you still prefer the metal build and definitely have better weather sealing, I can tell you right now, because I used both before. The EVF on the EM5 Mark II did fog up in rain, and but the EM1 never did, so just bear that in mind.
So yeah, those would be good upgrades. You don't have to buy new.
No,
You know,
no. I mean,
camera development has slowed down somewhat in
yeah,
recent years.
and
So you know,
and
you've
also
been
I think that we talked about that, right? And the a lot of the cameras, just basically the same, for the last 12 years.
would anyone switch backwards? Would you scale back to a cheaper or smaller system from the one you have now? I think somebody earlier on was commenting they might go from Nikon's SLR system to Micro Four Thirds because of the weight.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, it's I would anyone be tempted to buy a used camera that they can never afford new as an upgrade from their current system? It's an interesting route.
it
So for
is.
example, and also some cameras used to be massively expensive and now quite cheap because they're not
Yes.
fashionable. Back in the day, I always wanted a Nikon D850, but there's no way I could afford one. But now people like Wex are selling them for less than 2,000,
Yep, yep.
and it's just silly money for a camera of that quality. So if you don't mind stepping back a couple of years, you can swap systems without spending a fortune. But it depends on the tech you need. If you need
Yeah,
video, if you need electronic shutters, if you need in-body stabilization, you have to go with something a bit newer. But if you're
yeah,
just going for outright photographic performance and functionality, you don't have to go new, and you don't have to get something that's cutting edge. So you know, maybe if you are thinking of switching systems and you're kind of prepared to consider
yeah,
keeping your old gear,
yeah,
adding another used system is a good way of doing it because you're not spending as much money, you're
yeah,
not going into deep, and you can always go back.
yeah, yeah. That's an interesting thing. But I think, you know what, personally, if the days when I retired from professional photography, if I just purely do my own thing, I probably downsize my entire collection into
Yeah,
probably only one or two system max. I wouldn't have that many systems that I have now. And lenses, I'll probably scale all the way down to the things that I really enjoy doing.
yeah,
And I have all these different systems and different lenses all because of my work. If I'm not
yeah.
using them, and there's no point keeping them, and I just focus on something that I really enjoy. Majority of the time will be travel photography, maybe a little bit of a landscape stuff, things that I can take my time. And so, like, in that case, speed no longer is my issue. So I don't need the ultra fast cameras. I don't need, things that can do whatever frame per seconds, whatever speedy AF that I needed to capture actions and
Mm.
things. I don't need all of that anymore.
You're going to keep your Leica?
I think so. I think so. That is one thing that probably
Yeah,
won't sell. And
yeah.
yeah,
It looks in really nice condition too.
it is. And well, if you look closer, it does have some. Well, this is because this is Chrome, so Chrome doesn't do brassing
Yeah.
that well.
Oh,
And
okay.
but the actual the film advance around the edges all worn off. And
Okay.
but the funny thing is, if you take it back to Leica to do the TLC, to do the full service, and
Yeah.
they actually replace these worn dials for you.
Do they?
Yeah, unless you specifically ask them
At
not
a
to.
price. At a price.
No, no, they do it.
Well, there's a camera I'm trying not to buy at the moment, Jimmy, but I might end up doing it. I'm really seriously thinking about getting an old Rolleiflex.
Oh
Or
no.
the 2.8 if I can afford it,
Oh,
or the 3.5 if I can't.
I've been eyeing
But
I've been eyeing
they're
on
so
one for a long
they're
time.
so old now. You have to be careful about getting a good one. I've watched a couple of YouTube videos on dismantling and cleaning them,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're not just a couple of springs and a lever and a
No,
coil.
they are a lot. I
They're,
I
they're
I I tried to service my own Yashica TLR one time, and I took it apart. I couldn't put it back together.
no. If anyone has ever tried to make a lomography constructor, that plastic camera kit, that's easy. These traditional film cameras, mechanical film cameras, you have to marvel at the engineering. they're
Yeah.
made like watches.
Yes.
The leaf shutter mechanisms and the mainsprings and the escapements are just extraordinary.
Yeah.
What we
Yeah.
now do
There.
with circuit boards, they used to do with miniaturized engineering. It's
Yeah.
amazing, but never take one apart. Get somebody else to do it, and just grit your teeth and pay the bill. Don't
Yeah.
don't go there. But no, if I can find one that looks good, very
I
tempted.
mean,
Very tempted.
I'm tempted too. 'Cause I've been watching for one for a long time, and I couldn't pull the
Yeah,
trigger because the price is so
yeah.
expensive now.
Well, I'm thinking this is going to be around 500 for the 2.8. If you buy from a dealer where you can be confident that
Yeah.
it works as stated. I don't think I'd buy one off eBay.
Mm.
You'd end up buying two, wouldn't you? One where you could get the
One
parts
for
to make the
use.
other one work. You'd have
Right.
a donor camera. You don't want to get into that, but
I don't
yeah,
know camera.
I would be very tempted because this whole experience of just photographing my old negatives has made me realise it's actually very easy. And there
Yeah.
are so many labs now where you can just send off your black and white film. Like
Yep.
I used Harman Labs last time. They used to be Ilford. And you get a film back, it's all nice and clean, not like when you do it at home. At least it never was when I did it at home. And you just put it in a holder,
Yep.
spend a quarter of an hour photographing the negs into
Yeah. Yeah.
Lightroom.
Yeah.
Done.
Ah.
So yeah.
Okay. Right, don't tell me into, like I could easily just now go on eBay and start looking for one.
Yeah. I just don't think I have got cameras off eBay. I've got my Spotmatic came off eBay. It's about £25 and it works pretty
Oh,
well.
right. Okay.
But
okay.
it's not very dear, so you're not
Yeah.
taking much of a chance. But when you're talking about a 500 quid Rolleiflex or whatever people are selling them for, I mean, a
Yeah.
lot come from Japan now, so Japanese are very keen on their retro cameras.
Yes.
But they're premium prices because they're top quality, and
Yes.
you're going to pay international shipping and import duties.
And import duty and tax.
It's going to get
Yes.
complicated, yeah.
Yes.
So-
Yes.
Yeah.
But I have to say, and if you don't mind paying the premium, Japan is the best place to get the second-hand
I think
camera
it
because
probably
they
is, yeah.
they do
love-
look
they
after
love-
the stuff.
Yeah, they
Yes.
do. They do.
Yeah.
You even fly to Japan and buy one.
Yes.
Go to Tokyo.
If
Have a look
if
around the
you
stores.
if you're buying enough, it's probably worthwhile just flying there and buy
Take a
them
shopping
there.
list. Take a shopping list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I remember that early this year when I went to Japan, I spent a whole entire day strolling through all secondhand camera stores in Tokyo with my friend. The amount of gear that they have is insane, and also they're all in really good conditions.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is they do have grading there. If you read Japanese, they have grading there. I have Google
Yeah.
translate them, and what they consider as average, to me in the UK is mint.
Yes. Yes.
Their mint is like new.
Yeah, as new. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
That's
crazy.
the thing. So at the moment, it may not be just me, but at the moment, I'm thinking in terms of when we talk about switching systems,
Yeah,
I'm thinking about switching backwards,
yeah,
not just
yeah.
switching forwards.
Absolutely.
Uncle Easy is saying, did Rod say 500? That's,
Yeah, for the
yeah, I think
2.8.
I've seen Rolleiflex 2.8s for 500 that from dealers who have checked them. I
right.
think it's not as bad as I thought it'd be. Maybe I misread the pricing, but that's what they seem to be coming up at, with the 3.5s being a little bit less.
Right, someone has a Spotmatic for sale.
Yeah, I've got two. Don't look at me. I've got two.
Are we suddenly starting a sales channel here now? People offering gear for sales.
I've got a tip, by the way, that Spotmatic users will already know. This was the budget version
Yep.
because the shutter speeds only go to a 500th.
You got one that
and
goes
the-
1 to 1,000, isn't it?
Yeah, but all they changed was the dial, because if you go to 500 on this, then
Yep.
turn it past 500, there's no 1,000th marking, but it shoots at 1,000th. So it's the same shutter. They just put a different dial on. That's the story.
Ah, that's a
However,
cheeky one.
however, it's got a horizontal cloth shutter. So
Right.
how close those ever get to a thousandth of a second is questionable. But it is what it is.
Well, look, we got a lot of film.
Yeah,
We still got a lot of film users here. Uncle East also has a
yeah.
Yashica TLR, and we got another one here, C33 220 Kit Mamiya. Ooh, yes, nice camera, but film
those are
cost.
quite big.
Yes.
The 33 and the 330 are quite big. The film cost. That is the thing. I don't think I'd pay for prints. I might pay for prints. I don't think I'd pay for scanning. I'd rather just photograph the next myself. But
Yeah.
but the cost is certainly a thing. But then it always was with film, just more so today. But it changed. I think it does change the way you shoot, because if you just put a 12 exposure roll of 120 film in your Rolleiflex, and you go out to take some shots, you got to think pretty hard about each one of them because of the cost, and because you've only got 12. So it's not the way we shoot today, where it doesn't matter how many pictures you take, you worry about it later. You actually do have to think very hard about what you're going to photograph and make the most of those 12 frames. So it's more expensive, but you are kind of quite focused on the whole thing.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it was some sort of video idea that I had in my mind, but it was well kind of spill it out to talk a little bit about it, because you mentioned about 12 frames. I think it's a very good point here. You know, like we always talked about spray and pray in the digital era, where people literally put on CAF, continuous focus, and then and have burst shooting. You just basically press the shutter and just click away for 1,000 at a time, and then you pick the best shots, right? And I mean, I think to me that you may get a good shot. In fact, probably get a great shot. But to me, it kind of lacks that finesse, and also lacking that journey to making that photograph. And to me, that is not enjoyment. And if I personally want to create a photograph, not work, if I want to create something, I would take my time, plan the shoot, go to the location, observe, execute, plan, compose, all sort of thing that patiently and slowly, rather than just press everything, just for 10 seconds continuously, and then trying to get the one that you want.
You are forced to properly engage with what you're doing, because you've only got a limited number of frames.
Yep.
And they're costing you money. Both of those things sound bad, but they have a good side effect.
Yes. It really trains your timing as well, right? Because you simply can't advance quick enough to capture the next moment. So it's not like that when you can now do 20 frames per second or 30 frames per second. It's very, very different. If you're so used to that, when suddenly you can't do that anymore, you can only do 1 frame at a time, it could be a cultural shock to most people. But at the same time, it's quite refreshing that with those limitations, it makes you think a lot harder about when you press that shutter button. And I think that's the art of photography, and that's the enjoyment of it. When you do manage to capture that shot, it'll be really, really rewarding.
Yeah. I once had a compliment from a photographer in Norway. I was at the harbour in, where was it? Kristiansand, I think. Trying to get a shot of a Norwegian flag on a pebble on the beach.
Yeah.
I just couldn't see a way to make a good shot, so I stopped and gave up. And there's a guy behind me with the film camera saying, "Did you take that shot?" I said, "No, I just couldn't make it work, so I didn't." He said, "Well done," because everyone with a digital camera, they just take it anyway, even if it's rubbish, just because they can. So he said, "I'm using film. I'd never take a shot if I don't think it's going to work."
Yeah. I find this comment quite funny from Vermis. Saw a meme somewhere. 120 12 shot 6 keeper, 35 6 keeper, 2,000 plus shot in the SD card 6 keepers.
Yes, that's pretty much it. That's about right.
That sounds about right, actually.
Yeah.
And but I have to say, like spray and pray is never really my game. But for the last 2 years, I would say that I do use a lot more burst shooting than I would normally do, only because now I'm photographing a lot more younger kids, and because it's my business, my clients, and I do want to capture that moment. And when do book me in a limited time, let's say sometime 1 hour. 1 hour sometimes is too short to actually capture something meaningful, and because of that, I do have to kind of do a little bit of spray and pray. Yes, insurance that I know that I can deliver that shot for them. But like I still have some discipline. I don't press it like 5 seconds continuously. I mean, I just do like maybe 10 at a time, kind of thing. I'm not gonna do outrageously amount of number to try to create more work for me in post.
That's the thing. So I don't know. I'm seriously suggesting people should switch back to analog, but it has taught me a few lessons recently, where I've been asked to review an analog, and it's hard to say, an analog point and shoot, and also where I've gone back to some of my old negatives, and it's that thing where in the rush to get something better, you lose something else that you don't notice.
Yeah, you do.
So
you do.
Keep your old stuff. Chuck L88 says he has a 5 to 10% keep rate. Yeah, that's pretty good. There are days I go out and think, no, I'll come back with 100 shots and they're all terrible.
Yep. You know what?
They just don't have anything.
A lot of the time when I make my YouTube review video, I try to do some proper photography, but there are a lot of time I just can't get anything that is meaningful. So I just have to force some shots out, just for comparison.
Do you find you have to be in the right frame of mind for this?
Yes.
For the setting and for the job. If you're not in the right frame of mind, you just can't see. You just can't see the images somehow.
And also, I mean, sometimes you must been through the same thing as me. Like when you have a few things you need to review, and you got such a short period of time, and you just simply had to get out and do it, even you may have the right mindset, but the weather isn't there, the conditions just isn't there. You just can't get the shot that you really want to for that lens, for instance, and you still have to do something. You just click away.
You just come back with some generic stuff of the kind that a lot of people might photograph, but it's not something you would have done yourself. That is the worst of being a camera reviewer. You end up taking shots that please everyone rather than developing your own kind of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I always find that no disrespectful to other YouTubers and reviewers, but there are a lot of photographs that you see that they put as a sample. Doesn't usually mean they're great photographs, and most of the time they're just showcasing the renderings, the depth of field, and the bulk of shapes behind the subject and things like that. If you look at a lot of the images, they are probably very standard, if not sometimes probably just a bit average.
It is one of the depressing is too strong a word, but it's one of the things about reviewing gear that makes it less glamorous than it might seem. So if you get a camera, you've got to come back with something that shows the ISO, that shows the dynamic range, that shows the resolution. These aren't photographs, they're test shots.
Yes.
And so it's just not quite the same as what you would do yourself.
And a lot of the time, we only have limited time to play with the lens. A few days, a week at most. And what can you do? Sometimes if you're raining all week, you can't even do anything.
I'm dreading doing ensemble shots for this lower tilt shift lens because I'm going to have to find somewhere with a high viewpoint of city streets where I'm allowed to use the tripod, so I can show the shift effect, the upward tilt rather, to make that kind of miniature effect. Set up something indoors to show the extended depth of field with a kind of forward tilt. Then I can find an architectural subject where I need the vertical shift. It's like 2 or 3 days work.
I still have to review this lens. This is an APS-C lens by Yongnuo. It's an 11mm, so it's quite a wide lens even for APS-C. What's the aperture size? 1.8 aperture, so it's quite a bright lens as well. So I haven't tested yet. I was supposed to go out and take some Christmas lights. I haven't got time to do that yet. So I have to find a time to go and try to finish this review.
it's the writing side is
Yeah,
relatively straightforward, but the sample images they can be they can be
yeah,
hard work. Hard work.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's very interesting. But I would like to hear
Yeah,
from all of you guys, and we are probably about to wrap up today's chat
I
now.
think so.
Yeah, but yeah, yep, go on.
Uncle Easy is asking, is Rolleiflex really that good, or is Yashica good enough? I would say Yashica's good enough, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yashica 124Gs, which is the one I had, and I'd buy again, they're expensive too.
Yes, they
So
weren't used to
I
be that expensive.
no, they were really mid range, quite affordable,
Yeah,
but I think a Rolleiflex isn't going to be a whole lot more now, and I think it's just nice.
yeah.
It probably nicer to wave around a Rolleiflex on a Yashica mat, maybe. I don't know.
I shouldn't
I,
have taken apart my Yashica.
no, mine stopped working, and it wasn't very dear when I bought it, and I did never got it fixed, but I should have done,
Yeah,
because it would be worth so much more now. But that's the thing with these old mechanical cameras; they do need servicing
7. Yeah.
from time to time because
Yeah.
they are mechanical. Have you seen that advert in the UK, Jimmy? Vintage cash cow,
No.
where you've not seen the advert on TV where, one of these things where you get together all your old junk and you send it off to them and they give you some money.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen it.
Well,
No.
it constantly annoys me. One of the bits that this person is packing away is a Rolleiflex. And I just wonder what these people are going to offer you for your Rolleiflex. They'll say, "Oh, that old camera, yeah, we'll give you 10 quid for that."
You
Oh,
you know what?
it's upsetting.
I'm not trying to say anything bad, but if you go on eBay or maybe some sort of local marketplaces, even car boot sales sometimes, and you may actually find some bargains from time to time. There are times that when people who maybe their parents passed away and they inherited some old gear and they have no idea what they are. They just want to basically cash in and they just chuck the whole lot. I did actually managed to catch one of those deals a few years back now, and I remember that he told me that his grandfather passed away. He inherited this very rare. He didn't know it was rare, but it's a very rare Zenith manual Russian cameras with the lens. But it's a very rare item. So he sells for probably 4 or 5 times more than the price that he sold to me.
Yeah.
It needs a little bit of servicing, but I didn't mind to pay for the servicing because I know it's worth a lot more than that. But you can find bargains like that still.
If they're not dear, it's worth taking a chance, even if you get a dud, because you haven't lost much, but you might get a gem. So it's worth a go. Those old Zeniths. My first SLR with the Zenith EM. What a terrible, unreliable, stinky camera that was. But now everybody loves them because of that.
Yeah,
Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? Right.
I know. I've still got a photo sniper. I've got 5 of them.
Don't take that out in public now. You'll get taken down.
I might film myself walking along Whitehall to see what happened.
That'll be your last YouTube video.
Yeah. Okay. Now give me some sort of idea. Yeah. Maybe it may go viral. You never know, right? Right. Okay, guys. Thank you very much for joining us, and it's been a fun chat today. But please do leave us in the comment section below about what we talk about today and what sort of ideas you have about switching, and also do you have any impulse purchase that you're planning to do for this Black Friday and Christmas deal, because there are really a lot of cash deals at the moment. I mean, cashback deals at the moment from all manufacturers. Fuji, OM System, Panasonic, they're all doing deals, at least in the UK that I see. Even Nikon. You see the amount of price they slash from the Nikon Z8? £800 off from the Z8.
I know.
I was so tempted.
That's how they get you, Jimmy. That's how they get you.
I know, but I already have the Z8, so I don't need the Z8.
I know. You'd be buying a camera that does what your current cameras already do, but with 47 megapixels.
Which I don't need.
No.
Which I don't need. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly what we talked about earlier. So anyway, thanks a lot, guys, and hope you guys enjoy yourself. And be sure to tune in for next week. But we'll obviously keep you updated if we are getting busy and things like that. But yeah, stay tuned to the community page, and we'll let you updated the timing and the next chat, and also the topic as well. So until next time, I'll see you all very soon. Bye for now. Cheers.